Hey guys, back with something a little bit different this time. It's still co-op and there's nothing too strange about it. We're playing the new Mal Warfare map. Really, this is not a mutation, it's nothing crazy. But we're recording this the night before Zombiegrub's gonna be leaving for Montreal. And we thought it'd be kind of a cool way to do a pseudo interview. I mean, I've never really interviewed Zombiegrub before, but figured we'd ask her some questions and get her insights on, I guess, the next things to come with this big event she's going off to. So I guess the very first question, the most basic bitch coffee question I could ask is like, are you nervous?
No. Basically, like, I don't get nervous, and I also don't like really get excited, to be honest, until the actual event happens. And then there's about an hour before the event starts where the nerve hits, and then like 30 minutes after it actually starts, the nerves disappear.
Yeah, I can actually sympathize with that too, because when we did Hell to Time, I had like a big nervous breakdown like minutes before we were ready to go, and had like a small aside with you in the back room. I was like, dude, I don't want to do this. And then as soon as we got onto it, it was like, this is great. I'm having a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's really not that different.
All right, so I guess next follow-up question then is, how much homework have you done for this? I mean, we naturally cast a lot together. We got to cast the qualifiers for this. Was that sufficient, or did you start going, taking them notes and watching all the VODs?
I did a lot of homework, so we didn't really cast a lot of WCS. We skipped like the first days, and then of course we only got to cast so much of the final days of North America and Europe. So I went back and rewatched all the casts. Our League Lax scores can be looked up, and that's easy enough, but you don't really remember unless you actually see it. So I wanted to actually know what happened in the games leading up to their victories. And since most people are actually going anyways, you know, European and North Americans both, even if they qualified or not, it was basically the entire cast had to be looked over. So I studied that. Then I also studied replays, because casting can only do so much. You really gotta analyze it to understand what you're seeing and what the differences are. And then I also spent maybe an odd amount of time for a lot of people preparing my on-camera presence. So
did you do like the practice in front of the mirror thing?
Not quite. I looked at old VODs, which is like, it really hurts to do that, but
I know, the cringe, it hurts. It feels bad.
The best way to do it. And then I compared it to like the VODs of the guys, the veterans. And then I also like updated my wardrobe basically, and learned how to apply makeup a little bit fancier. Yeah,
actually, I've noticed over the last couple of weeks you've been like, here's some lipstick here and there. You got your hair done,
Well, yeah, the hair is just it was a little too far gone. But no, like the makeup thing was actually just me learning really how to do it, since I've never really bothered.
Well, hey, for what it's worth, I thought you pulled it off quite well on stream.
Yeah, it's definitely one thing to be on stream, though one thing to be up on a camera.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have the lights. It's gonna be warm.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what happens. I mean, they actually have a makeup artist. I don't know how she's gonna do with me, basically.
So for those who might not have followed your career so closely, you got to do Nation Wars. Did they have like makeup artists and stuff for that too, or is this like your first like, oh, I get real professional makeup?
This would be my first professional makeup.
That's cool.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, I actually got to meet the makeup artists that WCS uses for the North American events anyways at BlizzCon. That's a whole nother story though. But I mean, they certainly seemed nice. I just, I don't know, like they've worked with the other guys so much more often, and I have like really troublesome skin, so this actually used to be a real problem for me when I was younger. I would like try and get into makeup, and then the makeup artist would like be really terrible and not know how to deal with me, and they just make it like really worse, and like it would cause me to have like an allergic reaction, because your skin can have an allergic reaction. You know, your throat doesn't have to close up and you have to almost die. Your skin can just literally get inflamed and irritated.
Yeah, I guess on that note, like you have had to deal with acne for a pretty substantial part of your life. When you started casting, right? And I'm talking like you and me in the basement type thing, not like going in front of the big cameras. Were you ever worried like that would be a problem? Because I feel like I've never seen it as an issue for you, but I know that obviously everyone feels differently about their own problems.
No, it definitely was an issue because the very first cast I got on the camera with was a Xander Fever IEM. That was the first time I had to be on camera. Even the WCS that I did, they let me just use a picture. We never had to be on camera. So I just say like I got like one good picture by that time. So I was like super nervous, and I put my camera on, and he was actually like, "Oh, you're pretty," and then I was like, "Oh, great."
Like, no, I'm not, idiot. Becca.
I just said thanks and like kind of moved on. But it was like, I had like an even worse, like this is actually a really good camera, but it is still like a webcam. I had an even worse webcam at the time, so a lot of that was honestly just like covered. But yeah, I was certainly very worried.
Well, I'm sure you will look fantastic under WCS quality lighting and cameras and what have you. I guess for the fans of this, right? Like, we always talk about this. It's so weird. I feel so awkward interviewing you, by the way, because it's like I know a lot of these answers, right? But like for the fans and stuff, like they're totally approachable. You want them to come say hi and stuff, like even if you're busy at the event, right?
Yeah.
It's like always, I guess it's a little bit awkward because there's part of you that, there's gonna be times where you're too busy or like you just got to do stuff. You don't get to interact with the fans. But I know that we always try to encourage people to come say hi to us and whatever, because it's actually like, again, for anyone watching this, it's really nice meeting you guys. You might not seem like, oh, I'm just a nobody and like these are my favorite casters, but we love getting to interact with you guys. I know I'm gonna be there, not as a caster obviously, but I'm hoping to see a bunch of you guys while I'm there too.
Yeah, although definitely come up, say hi.
So actually, on that note, because we've talked about this, let's talk about fan etiquette for a moment, okay? So
could be its own video.
Right, this could be its own documentary. I don't think I've ever had a problem saying hi to a fan. I've had no problem talking to them. You want to talk my ear off about your favorite topic? I'm down to listen most of the time. But there's actually one thing that I do want to bring up, and that's like the topic of, I guess, lingering. It's kind of weird to know when to say goodbye sometimes, and I'm not trying to be too like high and mighty about this. But how do you feel about that when it comes to like, okay, you meet your fans, you've had a great time meeting them, and then it's kind of like, okay, well, I just need some me time now. There's no real good way to say that, right?
There really isn't. And people have done certain things in the past that have been, basically as good as you can get, and it comes off very respectful, and even then the person doesn't really get the hint. So that's really unfortunate. I would say that most times if someone says like, oh, I'm concerned about being that person, they usually aren't.
Yeah, right. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, people who are going to be those people are usually so just not self-aware that you really do have to be quite blunt. Just be like, look, dude, like, I need to go, or like, hey, I don't know you very well, because you can always say like, I'm busy if you like, okay, it's time to end the conversation, go do your own thing. But if it's like after the event and they're like, yeah, we get to hang out, like I love you, and you're like, cool, I don't really know you, but they know you because they watch your cast and stuff, it's always like, are you gonna just stand around here?
Yeah, actually, that was something that happened to me at PAX this weekend, and I guess I'll bring up for anybody too that meets Zombiegrub or me or anyone. Introduce yourself with your name. I know a lot of you who watch this video are probably not seeing us at Montreal, right? But this is talking ahead for like, maybe it's BlizzCon or TwitchCon or something. But honestly, you might think you mean nothing, but truthfully, it's so much easier to interact with people when we know their names. Even if it's like, I'll forget you after I've met you, or like you feel awkward about it. Seriously, hey, my name's Paul, I'm a big fan, is such a huge way to get us to want to hang out with you. I'm deadly serious about this.
It definitely helps. A lot of people, they'll come up and be like, I just want a signature, I'm a big fan, I don't want to waste your time. And you're like, well, thank you for being considerate, but it's no problem. And then they will just stand there and then like not have a normal conversation because they're still kind of in a different mindset, I suppose. You have to be the one that's a little more, because like there's a certain amount of social etiquette that people have mostly learned in their, early 20s. But still, to be as socially graceful as sometimes you see the best people in the business be, it's actually really difficult to do. So if someone comes off like me, talking about me, they come off like angry or impatient or awkward, it is just like, I'm no better at this than you are, guys.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, you're gonna come
that's the truth to it.
Feel super awkward, and I'm also gonna interact with you and feel super awkward because I don't know. I'm not it's a skill really that you can definitely improve on, but it's really hard to without just more and more experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you'll do a great job. We've had so much fun interacting with all the fans at events too, so I don't think there'll be any problems. But yeah, again, if you guys ever are timid about approaching, and this applies to more than us, by the way, there's so many backroom conversations where it's like you're hanging out with the other casters at the event, and we get into this exact conversation so many times, right? So don't ever feel bad about it. And this is like seriously pro tips to like hang out with anybody, not even just us.
Yeah. Yeah.
But on that note, oh sorry, go on.
Well, one thing that I remember hearing when I was like still like just a fan, because I am a fan, like I don't have my own conversations with people that I even kind of know because I'm still kind of in the fan mentality. So I kind of understand where everyone's coming from. But back when I was just a fan, I didn't know anyone, no one knew me. I remember like there'd be discussions about like when are you supposed to ask people for signatures, and the timing can be like really particular because some people like I think in Control actually, maybe I'm wrong about this one, but I feel like it was a familiar story. He was like, for the love of God, just don't ask us when we're eating.
Yeah.
Apparently that was a big problem. But actually for me, as long as you're in and out really quickly, I don't really mind. So I don't know. It's unfortunately still comes down to like everyone's different and you just gotta be as respectful as possible.
I still feel really weird about signatures too. Like I know people want them and I'll be like, you sure you want me to waste the page in your book, bro? Like I was gonna actually ask you on the topic of fan interaction. We've all got our stories, right? Obviously, we're not going to use names. We don't want to embarrass anybody. But what's your best and worst fan interaction to date so far? Like the most memorable moment versus like the most I wish that didn't happen moment.
Yeah. Well, I think the best one is still like one that's really old at this point, but it was BlizzCon. The first year we were at BlizzCon, and we like you had sore feet, so you were chilling in a hotel room. But me and Hair Dragon maybe were like just walking around like literally at 4 a.m, and there's still parties going on Saturday night. And I was talking to some guy watching these boneheads wrestle. Right, I was talking to him, and he's like, "You sound really familiar." And I was like, "Well, I cast a little bit. This is like 3 or 4 years ago, so not really popular." And he's like, oh my god, you're a caster? Are you Zombiegrub? And I said, oh yeah, you know me, that's cool. And then he just like got really happy. Like he like did a little dance and like glee, and then like he's like, oh, like I wanna hug you, is that okay? He's a little flamboyant, not gonna lie. But yeah, he was so excited and asked if he could hug me, and I was like, sure. He's a nice guy. It's been my like best human interaction face to face. I've gotten a lot of really nice messages though online, where I guess people feel a lot safer being a little more personal to their own experiences, and I really do appreciate those as well. I don't know about my worst one though, to be honest. I all I can think of really
I got a good one for you.
Well, I'm thinking of like the guy at Gameland. Like that was legitimately
where the guy was harassing us.
Yeah.
I wasn't actually thinking that, and that's not the direction I was going to take the question, but on that note, let's tell that story, right? For those that don't know about it, because I guess not a lot of people know about what happened at Gameland. It was kind of swept under the rug, more or less. But there was a dude standing behind us super drunk, and like we couldn't tell if he was a genuine fan or like a troll. Like he's calling Zombiegrub Zombie Girl and stuff like that, right? Only trolls really do that. But this guy, he gets so drunk and belligerent, and he's yelling at us, and he's being really like he's just so drunk that he's behind the booth, and he's like throwing stuff at me. It was ridiculous, and we were kind of worried, like, is this guy gonna do something worse? Is he gonna do something more? And that was like the first time I've ever actually been kind of terrified at an event. Not like worried that for my life, but it's just kind of like, what's this guy gonna do? How much of a headache is this gonna be?
Because we told him like, hey, we're working, like, can you stop? And he didn't. And then we actually had people tell him for us because we were working, and then he didn't. And then he left and then came back. And then that's when things get really scary, is like when they continue to kind of escalate. Yeah. So he came back for the 3rd time and sat in the crowd, and they like point him out and say like, oh yeah.
The police actually had to escort him away. Is where this went, by the way, guys. Like security caught him coming back, and the police had to completely remove him. I was gonna say though, your worst interaction. I was gonna bring up the potato chips and the Red Bull story.
That really wasn't that bad of an interaction. I mean, it's a funny story of, you know, social awkwardness, but I thought it was actually more funny than it was like, oh god, I hated that. Because there certainly have been some people that are just like, have ruined experiences actually by being the type to just cling on. So that's what I was thinking of. What?
The lingerers.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Where like you do want to just be with a couple of friends and they don't really ever take the hint to leave, and it's like, oh, like one of 4 nights every 6 months that I see these people, I had to consider this person. I had no idea who they were. Which, I guess to be clear, I'm not averse to meeting new friends, because maybe that's what it's coming off like now, but you guys don't understand, like...
No, sometimes you just want to hang out with 1 or 3 people. You've got the whole rest of the day to meet fans, right? Like, I think most people would totally empathize with that. They just don't realize what's happening.
Yeah. Well, it is like, it's one of those things where I think if I was a regular person, they wouldn't expect me to be very, like, you know, like, oh yeah, totally, be my best friend, come with me, do stuff with me. They just, you know, if they went up and were like, hey, can I hang out with you? It'd be understandable. I was like, no, I don't know you. But for some reason, there's a difference once they've seen you. But yeah.
Yo, side note, these banshees are destroying me.
I haven't really looked into it at all.
I know, I'm just kind of like moving.
Like,
I'm just going through the mission. All right, so what about your goals with the WCS stuff, right? Like, okay, you get to cast this really, really big event. Are you hoping for more? Are you just looking for a good time? What's your goals with this?
For a good time.
Looking for a good time.
No, I'd like to do more. I mean,
yeah, because you get to do Nation Wars. So you've had some experience with like the, I guess, bigger leagues.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who start out with StarCraft or esports casting in general, they do imagine the big leagues like on the camera with the official, you know, backing of X, Y, or Z developer, and that's certainly what I was hoping for when I first started. I was hoping to travel actually, but then I thought about doing the big league. So it is something that I've always wanted to do, and I would like to be good enough to be considered a regular, especially as I guess the scene potentially still gets smaller and smaller.
Well, so I know this because we talked about it, but for those who, I guess, aren't in the know, how did you come into the position of WCS casting?
This time?
Yeah.
They just... Well, I mean, the process is that you get messaged basically by one person who's kind of in charge of hiring for the talent, and they ask like, hey, are you interested in doing this? And then they give you the rundown of the pay and how it's going to work out, and it's actually very streamlined nowadays. But I'd say like how I got into it more specifically than just like, oh, they found me, was that I did message the person. I found out who it was to talk to. I messaged them. I said I was open for this. I made a video, you know, last year saying that I wanted to do bigger events, and that might have helped me get into Nation Wars, which obviously gave me some credibility, which probably helped me get WCS. But I also know for a fact that, you know, Blizzard is just looking to hire different people, basically. One new person kind of every round.
This won't be relevant by the time this video is posted, but Wardy and I had done this sort of talk show earlier in the day where we discussed the similarities to it, because him doing IEM, Fear Dragon doing Valencia and all that. But yeah, it's always good for the fans to know, I guess, because I remember we were where were we actually? I just remember you're like, hey, I gotta get a phone call later because I might just be doing this thing. Yeah, Atlanta.
Yeah. I mean, once they message you like, hey, I need to talk to you about this, you're just kind of like, there's
pretty
not much
obvious.
else to talk to them about.
They're like, we need the phone number of your friend. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. We were thinking about you for this, but we just wanted to tell you that no. That'd be kind of rude.
We won't tell you in person. I'm gonna fly you out and tell you no.
I mean, there's talks beforehand amongst everyone who's in the industry, like, yeah, I heard some mutterings, I heard, you know, your potential, blah, 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 but it's I guess tough to hear that and then wait a very long time to actually get invited, because there's only so many events. It's like, yeah, I just hope they recognize that.
So
Could be good enough.
Would you say you were more nervous waiting for that phone call or more nervous preparing for the event?
I wasn't. I don't think I was nervous. I think that
or anxious, I guess, maybe the better word.
The most amount of nerves that I had was after the phone call. Everything was like, okay, you're gonna do it. You need to give us a picture. I was like, no.
Take a picture so people can Photoshop in control onto your face.
Yeah, because it'd be a very specific type of picture. I've taken like nice enough pictures I don't mind sharing, but this specific picture had to be like the right pose and the right attire, and I was like, oh.
Professional.
I was in Korea, I don't have a good camera, it's not good lighting, like, I don't have, like, I don't really want to go shopping. That was the most annoying part. Kind of nerves.
Well, with the conclusion of this, I guess I'll leave it on one question, and that's, do you have any words for your fans who are coming to cheer for you at Montreal that can't be there in person?
I'll try and show good casts.
Oh, come on now. You spent too much time in Korea, that's for sure.
Yeah, right? No, I hope that I bring something special to the table, basically. And I think there's gonna be the inevitable tiny vocal minority backlash of like the only thing you brought special is that you're a woman. And I just, I hardly ever think of that, but people bring it up to me, so I have to like keep that in mind. But no, I hope I bring something important and useful and just a new energy to the cast and continue to, I guess, live up to my fans' hype. Sometimes I think they give me a lot of credit, and sometimes I don't show it back, but I try and show it back by being really, really good.
All right, well, hopefully you guys, again, cheer for her so she shows good cast, and we'll see you guys in Montreal. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.